Hello, lovely clienting listeners. This is Kelly Street, of course, as always, and very excited today to be talking to a personal injury attorney who herself talks about how they don't necessarily market like a typical personal injury firm. You think billboards, you think bus ads, you think TV commercials, but that's not the stuff they're kind of doing to lead to cases. So excited to get into it with Melissa Emery, a Kentucky-based personal injury attorney. Melissa, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So if people aren't familiar with who you are and what you do, they'll be hearing from you at PILMA soon. But for people who aren't going to PILMA, tell us about yourself and your law firm.
So I'm a mom of four, and I had been practicing law for a little over a decade, but 2 years ago, I decided to go out on my own, and my law firm is my new baby. So very excited. I have now added an attorney to the staff. We have 2 paralegals and an excellent receptionist.
Awesome. So were you doing personal injury before you started your own firm?
Personal injury is all I've ever done on the plaintiff side.
Awesome. That's cool. And I know from, we'll talk more about this later, but from the website or video on your website and your lovely marketing videos that you feel pretty passionately about personal injury, which is, there are a lot of personal injury attorneys who are like, we're passionate about, helping people and that sort of thing. But in your marketing, in your video, there's just a slightly different feel to the way that you work. So what would you have to say kind of makes your law firm or your mindset different as a personal injury attorney?
Well, I go back to it. It sounds very cliche. I really like helping people, and that's why I got into law. But I would add that myself and my staff, helping people legally is what we do 9 to 5. We help people outside of 9 to 5 with other matters. So I think law is just the avenue that we use 9 to 5 to do that. It's a high client touch practice, and we really enjoy it that way.
That's so cool. So you're going to be speaking at PILMA, which you might need to remind me what that stands for. Personal Injury Legal Marketing. I'll let you finish, PILMA.
It's Personal Injury Lawyers Management and Marketing Association, and I ran into them very shortly after opening up my own practice, and having a conversation with Ken Hardison, who owns PILMA, is what gave me the first ideas for how to start my marketing with like next to no budget.
Yeah. That's awesome. I've been meaning to go myself or send someone from our team because I hear that it's such a great event and can really, not to be a commercial for PILMA, but to kind of talk with other PI attorneys about what they're doing that's working online, offline, whatever it may be.
It looked like such an amazing event in 2017 when I just opened my firm that I put my entire CLE budget into going to the Super Summit. And it was everything I hoped it would be. And it's like you said, one of the big things I got out of it was I was able to interact with other personal injury attorneys around the country. So when an attorney isn't in my geographic area, they're a lot more willing to share ideas and what works and doesn't work because I'm not their competitor. So.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's why we, for our agency, we don't work with lawyers who have the same practice area within the same geographic area because your otherwise client would be competing against a client. And so I can appreciate that for this event. It's like, well, where's your practice located? Oh, okay. I'll tell you all my secrets.
Right. Conflict of interest otherwise. It's a competitive world out there. I mean, billboards, TV, it's expensive, and you're competing against the big dogs.
Yeah. And I bet another nice thing at an event like that is not only getting to learn from what they're doing, but also that whole referral source situation.
Yes. So we have referred cases out to other attorneys that are members of organizations that we belong to, and we've received referrals from them. And I'll tell you, I think one of the ways to get even more into that is to join a mastermind group, because then you really get to know those attorneys really, really well instead of just a weekend at a conference.
Oh, Nice. This didn't come up in our pre-recording talk. Are you, you're in some mastermind groups for attorneys?
I am. I'm in a mastermind group through PILMA. Ken turned me down at first, but then I talked my way into it. And so I meet with 10 to 12 other attorneys. It's the same ones, every quarter. And we meet once a quarter in a different location each time to share what's working, what's not working, and really kind of roundtable any issues we're having. It's really an amazing experience that I would encourage everybody to do.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that. I have not been in any mastermind groups myself. My husband, being an entrepreneur, is in some entrepreneur groups that he finds a lot of value out of. And I know a bunch of people do. Guy is also in sort of entrepreneur different groups that kind of mimic a mastermind. But I have not had personal experience, so it's good to hear boosting from other people that there are a ton of them out there now. There are lots of, I think there's more willingness now to share not just what you can find on the internet and this information, but to share personal stories with other people who are in a similar situation.
Well, so you can get feedback too. I mean, I can go read, and there's so much content online, but to be able to get that instant feedback from another attorney is saying, I tried this and here's what I got, and then they can share their personal story, and their feedback is based on what you just said. So yeah, I think mastermind groups are just invaluable.
Awesome. And speaking of sharing knowledge, so we talked about PILMA, you're going to be speaking there. What are you going to be talking about? That's just in a couple of weeks now, right? Which will be past from when this episode comes out, but.
Yes, it's over the week of the 24th of June, and I'm going to be speaking on how to start your own law firm. Specifically, it's a track that's more geared towards women lawyers as entrepreneurs, because a study came out last summer showing that a lot of women lawyers within 20 years are stopping the practice of law for family reasons. So PILMA wanted to put something together to really speak to women about, hey, like, you could do this. You could have your own firm, and there's ways of marketing it and managing it that meet your needs at home too. Yeah. So very excited about that.
Good stuff. So let's dig into what you're doing for your marketing for your firm. Okay. There's in talking to you before this, there are a couple of things you're doing. You're doing some offline marketing. You're doing some online marketing. So let's start with your offline, because I just thought it was really great to hear some of the things that you're doing that are really personalized and really kind of just give a different touch, which I have to say, not to stereotype, but since you brought up women lawyers and just how they operate, is a very it has that feel. Some of this offline marketing stuff that you're doing is much more just has that feeling that you're like, yes, of course, like,
it's more touchy-feely.
Yes,
it's more touchy-feely, nurturing. Yeah, it is. All those things we attribute to moms. But I would say it started with, Ken told me I needed a newsletter. And I am not good at writing stuff on a consistent basis, and I know that a newsletter needs to be consistent. So I set out trying to find a good newsletter. And I didn't want an online newsletter necessarily, because a lot of my clients, they might use Facebook, but they don't really use email. And so what I wanted was a hard copy newsletter, the old school shows up in your mailbox when you get home at night kind of newsletter. And I found the Newsletter Pro to do that. But if I can back up just a little bit, I didn't have enough clients to put on that mailing list yet to get to the level of newsletter I wanted. So we took this long list of prior clients, and I hired somebody in at $10 an hour to literally sit in my office. She knew nothing about law. All she was supposed to do was call all these people and say, hey, this is so-and-so from Emery Law Office. You may remember that Melissa represented you like 3 years ago for your auto accident. She wanted to let you know that she's been thinking about you and that she just opened her own practice. We wanted to know if it would be okay with you if we update your contact information. I still have you at, and then she'd read their address and phone number and update it. And so from there, we were able to get our list of 400 clients to make our newsletter. But the really amazing thing happened about 2 weeks later. I was sitting in a conference, And my phone was going nuts. I picked up 7 new cases that weekend while I was in a conference. And I'll tell you where they came from. They came from those phone calls. And it wasn't necessarily that anybody that she called actually got in an accident, but they had friends that were in accidents. And so what I picture happening is a conversation goes on between somebody we had just called and one of their friends where they say, you know, the oddest thing happened the other day. You remember I had that case 3 years ago and it's over? So my lawyer's office called me just to see if they could update everything and to see how I was doing. And then I picture the person on the other side saying, really? Because I've got a case and my lawyer won't return my calls. What's your lawyer's name? And that's kind of how I picture that going. But that experience for us cemented kind of a new thing we do is ever since then we've been taking periodic times where we call a bunch of clients, current and past, just to check into them, just to see how they're doing, if there's anything we can help them with. It certainly doesn't have to be legal matters, and most of the time it isn't legal matters. It's, hey, you know, my daughter's getting married. Do you know a florist? Or, you know, this is what my kid's going through, and I'm not sure what to do. Or I need a roofer from that storm last week. And so we're able to help or give advice or sometimes just listen. But usually when we make about 100 to 200 calls, we end up picking up cases about 2 weeks later.
Wow. That's so awesome. Okay, I have 2 questions from this. The first one is early on, you mentioned that you knew that your clients didn't really use email, but that they did use Facebook. How did you figure that out?
Well, because when I do my intake, I always ask them for an email address. And it's increased substantially over the last 10 years, but not enough that email is really a good way to communicate with most of my clients. Most of them will say, well, I mean, do you have to have it? And I said, well, you know, I don't have to have it, but it's a good secondary way to reach you. And then they say, well, because I don't really know my password, I don't really log on, or they don't check it, or they don't know what their email is. You know, what's interesting is if they have pictures on their phone of the accident, I will ask them, can you email that to me? And they're like, I'm not sure. And I will say, do you mind if I use your phone? And they'll hand it over. And the thing is, I can almost always click on that picture and send it by email, but they don't know what their email is or how to access it. I do know they have Facebook though, because they talk about Facebook, and they like my Facebook page online. So I know they're on Facebook, which means they have to have an email, but they just don't use it the way you and I do.
Wow. I mean, that is definitely one of the things that really gives you an advantage and sets you apart, is that you know who your clients are. Like, it's not just this random thing of like, oh yeah, oh, it's weird, you know, and like tuck it back into a file folder. You're like, oh, aha, most of my clients don't have an email. How is the way that what is the way that I can communicate with them and get back in front of them? And totally
Right.
Understanding your target market and your target clientele. Love it.
We try.
That's awesome. The other thing I'm wondering is, just in talking about keeping up with clients and checking back in with them, is do you have a CRM or something? You know, what are you using to kind of keep that information about people?
So we use CasePeer, that's our file management system, and pretty sure it's geared predominantly to personal injury. I haven't tried it with anything else because we don't handle anything else. But CasePeer holds all of our client information, all the information about their case, and of course even has the closed files in it. So we can use that to pull up information about current or past clients. We do have an old school Excel spreadsheet with our mailing list. And so we do add people as they come into our mailing list, and that has different tabs, whether it's a client, and we put potential clients on there as well, versus another lawyer, versus a different type of business entirely. So we've been involved in BNI chapters in the past, and my associate is still involved in one. And all of those business owners make that contact list, but they're not mixed in with other attorneys or with clients. They're on their own list.
Cool. Oh, and I just had a question and then I forgot it based on I was just thinking about that spreadsheet and then I got distracted because spreadsheets are my best friend and my enemy at the same time.
They're my nemesis. I have to hire people that know what they're doing on those. I do not work a spreadsheet well at all. So
Yeah,
fortunately, I have staff that does.
very lucky. I had one of my early marketing jobs was project management for marketing. And I, learned all about the pivot tables and all of that. And then as soon as I moved on from that job, I was like, drop that information out of my head. Never want to use that again.
Yep.
But
That doesn't even make sense to me. I don't even know what a pivot table is. So you're ahead of me still.
but spreadsheets can be great for information like this. So that's awesome.
Yes,
Okay. So what are the kinds of things that you're putting in your newsletter that are kind of getting this great reaction from people and interaction?
I think the critical thing is what we're not putting in our newsletter. When I initially looked for a newsletter, I was looking for one that had like updates on law. So, hey, this big case happened, or this law came down that you need to know about. It affects your rights. And Sean Buck with the Newsletter Pro in his book pointed out, golly, Melissa, if your dentist were trying to keep in touch with you by keeping her name in front of you, would you want to know the latest on root canal therapy? No, I hate going to the dentist. I hate going to the dentist. She's a lovely person, but I don't want to know about the intricacies of dental work. And he said, well, how do you think your clients feel? I'm sure they think you're a lovely person, but do you think they wanted to have to come see you? Do you think they wanted to be in an accident and need an attorney? They don't want to be reminded that was a trauma in their life. But they like you as a person. What would you want to know about your dentist? What's going on with their kids? What's going on in her life? Maybe, hey, we got this new person in our office. She's great. So that's the kind of stuff we focus on. My May issue talked about my oldest daughter getting married and had a picture of her with my younger daughter trying on dresses. My July issue, we'll talk about my son who's in basic training for the Army. So we talk a lot about personal stuff. Because really in law, don't we ask a whole lot of personal questions of our clients? I mean, I'm reading a lot of personal information in their medical records. I'm asking them for social security numbers. I'm asking them who they're related to and what was their relationship to this person that they were in the car with and whose insurance policy they're about to use. So I think it makes it a more friendly relationship back and forth that they also know a little bit about us and see that we're human beings as well.
Yeah,
so
it is. I mean, definitely a very personal business. And one thing that came to mind, and I'm sure there's not some sort of study for this, but that just made me curious is that I wonder if there is any information that other PI attorneys would have about using their, when marketing to past clients for referrals and that sort of thing, when using case outcomes and settlement data or settlement information of if past clients are like, well, why did that client for, this type of accident that was the same as mine, why for a slip and fall did they get, 50 grand when I only got 15? And, there is the possibility that could create some competition feeling there. So when marketing to past clients, maybe not the best idea to put a different number in their heads.
Well, and we get that anyways. I mean, we don't advertise numbers like that, and a lot of firms do, but we get that anyways. And we've all been there where a client calls up and they're like, well, I don't understand why my case is only this. I have a friend, and everybody has a friend who was in an accident, and they weren't even hurt as bad as I was, and they got, X number of dollars more. Well, the fact of the matter is the client doesn't know all the details of that friend's case. Maybe in that friend's case, the driver was drunk and there were punitive damages. Or maybe that person went to, more of an ortho in a hospital instead of a chiropractor. But without knowing those details, it's really hard to justify why this person got better versus you. So I do think you're right on that, and we do leave numbers out, and I think for good reason.
Yeah. It makes me think of, I'll have to link to it in here. There's this SNL skit that maybe every PI attorney has seen of Kate McKinnon and Bobby Monahan. Monahan, yeah, where they were pretending to be lawyers, and one like Kate McKinnon played this really great lawyer, and she was like, I got these big settlements, and this other guy was like, I had a car accident and they had to amputate my arm and I got $4,000. Wait, what? Why? And it was just showing this just ridiculous difference of a good lawyer, a good settlement versus a not great one. And yeah, random thoughts from Kelly today. Anyway, the other thing,
and we've all heard.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I said we've all heard the McDonald's coffee case, and I can't tell you how many times I've had to explain that verdict to people. But you get half information even from the news, and so you assume that they shouldn't have that settlement. So yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there, or only half information out there, and it's challenging sometimes.
Yeah, too true. The other offline marketing thing that you guys do related to newsletters, because it's also mailing, is birthday cards and derby cards, which I loved.
Yes. So we send derby cards and we send Thanksgiving cards. Mailboxes get cluttered, I feel like, at Valentine's Day. They get cluttered, particularly at Christmas and over holidays. And I got to tell you, I'm a little bit of a Grinch when it comes to Christmas. I like sponsoring a Christmas family, but I don't like all the commercialism. I can't stand Christmas music, but I love Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is all about spending time with family and friends, and nobody's buying presents. You're probably sharing a meal or three. And so I like to send Thanksgiving cards out every year. And then we also send derby cards out, because that's a big deal in Kentucky is derby. I mean, there's a whole derby season that kicks off with fireworks and goes through all sorts of other activities before the race.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, to the point of Thanksgiving, it is definitely a safer holiday to send as an American-based holiday rather than something that has other connotations tied to it. So that's a very smart move just on that point. Awesome. All right. Well, let's dig into your online marketing, the things you're doing there. I first want to go back to the videos that you have, because I know you worked with Crisp Marketing. And of course, again, I'm not trying to make this a commercial for them. I just know that they do really high quality work. And so wanted to know kind of how the process worked with them, or whether you feel like it was worth it, and that sort of thing, because we talk a lot about video. We have a lot of our clients suggest that they utilize a service like Crisp to do professional videos for their website and for their continued marketing efforts. So how has that been for you?
I love the video. I absolutely love the video. I think it's gorgeous. I mean, the cinematography on it is just phenomenal. And I don't think you're going to get that from another provider with that level of cinematography. The whole process was very seamless. They walked me through it from start to finish. I was very nervous going into it. We had a very small staff, and we had somebody that couldn't show up that day, a lot of stuff, and the videographer really put me at ease. So their process was wonderful. Without doing a whole lot of online marketing, I think maybe I'm not getting the full benefit of the bigger firms that do a lot of online marketing with it. But I definitely love my branding video. I think, though, and something we haven't done yet, but I'd like to do, is I'd like to do a lot of FAQ videos and put those, maybe not the cinematography that Crisp videos are, but something just to say, here's common questions that my clients ask, and just do a little 5-minute, throw it up on Facebook or something like that. So I think there's value in that. I just have not done it yet.
Yeah, those are FAQ videos, FAQ pages are great, especially if you're going to go the video route. Make sure to have the transcript on there, because that way, especially on Facebook, I'm sure everybody knows this by now, is like nobody except apparently me, I've talked about this, watches videos with the sound on. So you want to put the captions on there, which side note, we can talk about what you're doing for social media next, but there's one influencer I follow who I have noticed in her Instagram stories has started, because people don't listen with the sound on, for every, little short story thing that she puts up when she's talking, she writes out in text basically everything that she said in her 10-second little video clip that you get. And I haven't seen a lot of other people do that. But it just, when I saw her do that, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And then people don't have to turn the sound on and annoy their spouse when they're, going to bed on Instagram like they probably shouldn't be.
Oh, our internet connection is not doing well right now.
There we go. We're good now.
But yeah, that's why I asked Chris Video to put the sounds in line, because I'm one of those people too. I watch video without sound. I don't even like hearing video. I just like reading it. So maybe my age is showing. So I asked them to put the subtitles in there, and I really like that they did that.
Yeah, definitely makes it for a complete user experience for all variety of people, especially if they're not weird like me and watch with the sound on.
The sound on.
Yeah. So I know your firm isn't doing a ton with social media, but what are the things that they're doing? Especially, I'm curious because you did say that your clients, that they use Facebook a lot, and that they're liking your page. So what are you doing there?
So we use a local company called Rev Local, and they post regularly to my Facebook and Instagram account. But I really think that's necessary to get that consistency again. But I'll tell you, the stuff that draws the most views is, for example, like when we have our Christmas family, we take pictures of the tree with all the presents under it and say, we went shopping for our Christmas family. Or when we send a picture of somebody in the office celebrating a birthday and we have the birthday cake. It's not real polished stuff. It's just us being us, but that really gets more attention than the very polished little ad type stuff that goes up on Facebook. So we work on putting more up, but I'm not real good with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Awesome. So I think the last thing we should get into here, because I know your firm puts some time and effort into it and it is showing online, is your online reviews. So you have, as of now, 61 5-star reviews on Google and 12 almost 5-star on Facebook. So how are you going about getting these reviews, especially considering that a good portion of your marketing is offline?
So we actually started this a little over a year ago. We had a contest internally. And I told my staff one November, listen, I want you to call all the former clients, call the current clients, and just ask them, hey, did you have a good experience with us? Would you be willing to refer your friends and family to us? And if yes, find out if they'd be willing to write a review. And I incentivized my staff to go out and get reviews. And they did. They actually got over 100 reviews. It was amazing. But lesson learned, when you get a whole bunch of reviews really fast, Google doesn't like that, and Google got rid of a whole bunch of reviews. I'm confident that if there had been a 1-star review, it would be up there until, eternity, but all the 5 stars, we lost a lot of them. So what we've done since then is we've just started saying, okay, when a case settles and somebody comes in, let's ask them for a review. And then we realized too that ones that had never left a review anywhere before and then don't leave one after, those don't stick either. So now we go back to intake. And on intake, we talk about how we like to help people. And, we find that a lot of people like to help people. And the clients generally agree that they also like to help people. And so we talk about reviews and how at the end, we hope that we will have done such a good job for them that they'll want to leave us a review, because it doesn't just help us, it helps other people make a decision who might be on the fence as to who to hire. Right now, people actually trust strangers' opinions more than they trust people that they know. They want to know, what does the crowd think? Does everybody else like this restaurant? Does everybody else think it's awful? So we sometimes will walk a client through leaving their first review for a restaurant or somewhere they've been recently, so that by the time we get to the end of their case and we get a review from them, ours sticks. And then we've got Tom. Tom answers our phones. He greets people when they come in, and he is an amazing, amazing person. Everybody feels comfortable around him. He's talkative. He gets a good conversation going with them. And so when they come in to pick up their checks, he just starts having a conversation with them. He says, well, let me go get the attorney. And he'll go tell me, Mrs. Smith is up here to pick up her check, and I told her it'd be just a minute. So he goes out there and he says, a beautiful day out today. How's it going? Are you glad to be done with your case? And then he asked them, would you be willing to leave a review? And a lot of them say, oh, yeah, I just don't know how. And I've instructed Tom how. So he asked to see their phone. He pulls us up on Google, and he says, okay, see this part where it says reviews? And they click on it, and there are the stars. So then he says, if you wouldn't mind clicking on the stars, and then you can even feed words into them. Tell them why you felt that Emery Law Office was so compassionate, or tell them what Emery Law Office did that made it easier on you or took the stress off of you. So you can even kind of lead in with what kind of review you're looking for. And Tom does an amazing job of gathering that rapport with people and getting those reviews left. So very excited to see that happening.
Oh, that's awesome. And is that, I don't know Kentucky's bar rules about reviews. I'm obviously that fits into theirs, but do they have any like weird quirk things that you found that you need to kind of work around for your online reviews?
I can't think of any that we work around. I mean, obviously you don't incentivize anybody or provide any kind of, you don't say, hey, we'll give you a $5 gift card for leaving a review. There's nothing like that. It always has to be just their willingness to do it because we did a good job.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. No false and misleading things, no incentivization. No. That's awesome. Yeah. And I really, it's so important, obviously, to work with your staff to do these things, but also kind of planting that seed at the beginning was so smart. And to have sort of tried and failed and then figured out how, around that is, I love that. Because, it's until it happens to you and your reviews get taken away, you're like, oh, this is so great and awesome. And we found this awesome system. And then Google.
It flopped. It backfired on us.
Yep. But you know what? You've still got 61 positive reviews. That's awesome. You're doing great there.
Thank you. Well, we got a bunch of cases, so hopefully there'll be more coming, in the coming months.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, other than, because Pilma will have already passed, is there any method that they can get in touch with your law firm or with you to follow up on anything from this episode?
Sure. They're welcome to call me. Our phone number is 502-771-1529, or they can email me. It's Melissa, Melissa, at Emery Law Office. That's M as in Mary, ERY, lawoffice.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Clienting. And as always, subscribe, give us a review on Apple Podcast if you would be so kind. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.